people with real jobs.
Hello?
Self-employed people. Which do you want to be? This is Certifiably Unemployable. It's time to fire the boss and become self-employed. Maybe you need a push to get that business or side gig going that you've been dreaming about for years. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can listen to stories and get experience from people who've done it. Get ready to change your life. Broadcasting from the compound, this is Certifiably Unemployable, and this is Sean Dean.
Welcome to Certifiably Unemployable. I am your host, Sean Dean, and once again, thank you for making us a part of your busy week as an entrepreneur. We're in a brand new year. There's a lot going on. Things happening all across the country, all across the world, and being an entrepreneur is always taking risks, right? We're always doing the things that are unnormal. We're always uncomfortable. We're always going against the grain. And so I know you've got a lot going on in your schedule, so we do appreciate you making Certifiably Unemployable a part of your busy week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, visit our website, certifiablyunemployable.net. We've got our new merchandise up. I'm actually wearing one of the hoodies in the show right now. It says anything is possible. So if you are encouraged to wear the gear that entrepreneurs love to wear, then check us out there. But today we're talking to a very special guest. His name is Ron Worley. He's out of Colorado, and he is the author of Ditches to Riches, How to Survive Your Effed Up Life and Create a Kick-Ass Business, right? So today's going to be a little unique. We're going to tell some really cool stories about Ron, and maybe not all the stuff he's going to talk about was cool in his life, but reality is it was his story. But let me tell you a little bit about him before we get it started. So Ron Worley is an impactful business leader, strategic thinker, self-made millionaire, professional speaker, successful multipreneur, and avid life liver that didn't sound right for a minute there, sorry, who follows his own code. He's a proud papa, a dedicated husband, taking a lighthearted approach to living. He's made his home in Colorado after living in 5 different states. His ability to lead, inspire, and guide systems of wealth and wellness are clear, and he wants to provide you, the listener, with the tools to make your life better and more productive. And looking at his story, looking at the fact that he's got a lot of accolades and a lot of things that he's been through in his life, I know, Ron, you're going to be a guest multiple times on our show. At least I hope you will be. So Welcome to Certifiably Unemployable. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. I appreciate you having me on, man. And I'd love to come on as many times as you want. I love talking to you. You're doing something awesome here with the show.
Well, I appreciate it. As we mentioned prior to us starting today, one of the things that entrepreneurs need is they need to know that they're not by themselves. They're in it to win it, but there's a group of us out there that are always going to be their cheerleaders. I actually had pulled up an image on social media, one of the social media sites over the last couple of days, and it was Elon Musk, founder of Tesla. He had said, instead of baby showers, let's host business showers. When a friend starts a business, we all come together, celebrate them, and bring resources for their business to start.
Yes.
That's what it's all about, because this country is built on small business, and being an entrepreneur is not easy. So, Ron, I want to hear your story, Ditches to Riches. So
yeah,
we want to hear it all. We want to hear the good, the bad, everything. Okay, so let's start.
Yeah, sure. Obviously the book starts out that I wrote. It's named Ditches to Riches for a reason. My rock bottom was actually in a ditch in a rollover car accident, my second one in about a year, where I was pitched from the vehicles each time. And this one kind of hurt me. I was basically unconscious in a ditch. And that's where the story picks up. That was my absolute rock bottom after 28 years of using drugs and alcohol. And I had ultimately, so my parents started me off smoking weed at 2 years old. They used it to help me sleep at night because I was a pretty hyper kid. But ultimately that just started my drug career right off. I had no chance to know what sobriety was about. Fortunately for me, I was still a kid, and it wasn't like I was just using all day. I had a normal life as far as school, friends, that kind of thing. And socially, I was still able to maintain, but secretly I was getting high every night, and I was looking for that next drug. Now, in the grand scheme of things, pot has never been a bad drug for anybody, but just like everything else I do, I'm always looking for the next high with the weed. So it turned into be something that led to other things for me. By the time I was 15, I was a full-blown alcoholic. I was doing cocaine, acid every other day. I was doing all the big heavy drugs, minus heroin. For some reason, that one scared me, and I never got my hands on it, thank God. But the alcoholism seemed to bring itself to the forefront, easy to get. And I pretty much drank every single day from the time I was in 7th grade until I was 30 years old. Ultimately, that led, I lived a normal life. Like I said, I tried very hard. I opened a bail bonds business in 1997, got married, had kids. And when I started making a little bit of money, all my problems got magnified. The drinking became more and more and more. And pretty soon I lost my wife, my house, my cars, my boats, my kids, everything. Materialistic wise, I lost in a quick hurry. And then I ultimately lost my kids too. And that was my rock bottom. I spent 6 months not able to see my children. And that's how I ended up in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. I was running from my problems. They chased me down, the problems did. And by the time I had the car accident, I was drinking every single second I was awake. And in fact, I was waking up in the middle of the night to have a drink so that I could sleep some more because I would get the shakes so bad. That ultimately is what got me sober too, is my children, because I was hurting bad. My heart hurt. I could not believe that I was in the same position as my father, that I was doing the same things to my children that I was done to me. And they had an absentee father for 6 months, and that just killed me every day. So I hightailed it to Colorado. After the car accident, I realized I was in the middle of nowhere and nobody was to help me. My last bridge was burnt. My mother was done with me. She was my biggest enabler for a long time. And she was out of money, wasn't going to help me. That was done. And so I came home and just started getting sober. That was my main goal, time to get sober. And I did. It took me about a year to really get focused and my head on straight. I did 90 AA meetings in 30 days, and I continued to go for a year. But what I found out was, as soon as I quit drinking, all my focus started to get back to entrepreneurship. And I was able to, it's almost like you take the effort and the bad habits of drinking and you focus them on other things, and you can do great things with it. I started working out at the gym, and physically I never felt better. And that sort of helped me mentally as well. And fortunately for me, I was able to find a job right away, a paying job. So I got a little bit of security. I was able to get a 1-bedroom apartment and start to think entrepreneurially again. So I started my bail bonds business back up again, and it was slow for a while. So I worked both jobs. I worked 16 to 20 hours a day for a couple of years. And of course I got to see my children. I got them back. So I was seeing them every other weekend there for a while. That became much, much more. And ultimately I ended up getting custody of all 3 of them at one point. So
that's great.
Yeah. And it's just a building process, right? So I had to start getting sober in order to get to the good stuff later. And, I was able to quit my job and just focus on my bail bonds business. And really that's when everything took off for me. But I don't live there. As soon as I got rid of the job and I was just doing bail bonds, I got used to that, and I'm looking for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I'm a believer in just trying to stack your jobs. I always had my one company for my children and my exes to pay them. And then I would have one for my lifestyle. And I never wanted my lifestyle to suffer, but they always came first. So they always had their lifestyle managed. And then I had one for me and my current wife, and we never suffered. We just worked harder.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heck of a story. Heck of a story.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, here we are today, and I do like to focus on the here and the now, but those stories, and trust me, there's some really gruesome ones. Lots of, I didn't even put 90% of them in the book, because they have nothing to do with, they're not relatable to entrepreneurship. Ultimately, my goal was to figure out a way to help people on a different scale. Being an entrepreneur, you said it best, we're alone out there. When we think of an entrepreneur, we think of an Elon Musk, and they're on this pedestal and they're unreachable. And I personally can't fathom how much money $1 billion is, and therefore I can't obtain it. And so for me, it was about breaking it down to, okay, let me make $50,000 first. Let me make $100,000. And, now the goal is, let me make $1 million in a year, then, and we'll just creep it up there. I don't know how most people do it, but I like things that are obtainable, and you've got to find the right space to become obtainable. With all my, and please interrupt me if I'm rambling here. I'm just kind of talking a lot.
Good. I want to listen to it for a little bit. Yeah.
So, when I mentor people, the first thing I have to do is train them to think that unlimited income potential is obtainable. What does that mean, and how does that feel, and what's that like? It is a roller coaster ride, because with unlimited income potential is also limited income potential. You can make $0 in a month, or you could make 100,000 in a month. It just depends on the vehicle you're driving and how hard you're working. And for me to get that into a 20-year-old's head, who's grown up with our social cues from life, that you got to go to college, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get into a job and work your way up. All that stuff to me is it's antiquated, and it's not necessary. I have 3 kids. They're all grown. They're all out of the house. One of them went to college, and granted, he's really smart, and he's going to graduate in like 3 years, and he's going to do well. He's studying accounting, but he's not in accounting. He's already got a job, 6-figure a year job in lending. But the other 2, hey, they didn't go to college, and all I could say is that they're happy, and they're doing their own things, and they're, they got the spirit in them. And
well, that's what I was just going to say, especially if you're a young entrepreneur and you're listening to this, and you're looking to start your own business, because that working for someone isn't your way of life. And I don't disrespect anybody that has a job working for somebody else, because to me, that takes a very strong person to do that.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. That's just not my lifestyle. But one thing you got to focus on as an entrepreneur is you got to understand what your goals are. And you have to understand that if all you're focused on is making $1 million, you're going to miss all those steps in between. And it's going to take you so long to get to where you need to go. I mean, yeah, you might land in a pot of gold, but let's be real. That doesn't happen, right? That doesn't happen to everybody. We don't know the backside story to Elon Musk, as we've brought him up a couple of times in the show. What got him there? All we know is that he's the owner, founder, Tesla. The stock is crazy. I mean, all we see is success, right? And so, but we need to be able to tone that down and to break it up into pieces, because you've got someone here, yourself, you were homeless, an addict, you were alone, and you hit rock bottom, and you had to figure it out. But your first goal was, all right, you literally open your eyes in the ditch and be like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to start becoming a millionaire. No, you're like, I got to pick the pieces up and make it work. Right. So you have the bail agent company. You've had that 20 years, right? Or 25 years, right?
Yep. You got it.
Okay. Now it says you went on to open 11 other businesses. What other businesses did you did you open? What kind of industries and stuff?
Yeah, man. So I've tried it all. Anytime I see an opportunity, I try it. That's part of the bravery and the F it, try it mode. And I think you mentioned it too. Yep. So I have done network marketing. I was not successful. I'm still involved in network marketing. I use it more for my own personal products. I'm with the Organo Gold, and I just use the products. And a lot of my mentees, I turn them on to that company, and they accidentally fall underneath me, but I do nothing. The person that got me in just handles it all, and I'm not making any money at it. But anyways, I digress. I've owned a fence.
But one thing about that industry though, even if you're not really making a residual check, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. And this episode by no means is about network marketing.
Yeah.
But think about what it does for your belief, your discipline. There's always, especially a company like Organo Gold that's been around for a long time, they have systems in place, and their systems are in place for a reason. And so if you're listening to this and you want to understand a little bit of maybe you want to challenge yourself to be more organized and to have a system and to see what a system is, find a company like Organo Gold or a company that's been out there for years. Find a leader, find a mentor that can say, listen, you just follow these steps. It's going to help you in so many things, and not just network marketing, but any business, right? So,
right. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll explain to you why I use their products here after a bit, but you're absolutely right. And where I failed in network marketing was that I didn't follow my own steps when I was young. These things were trial and error. I don't know if you remember Equinox. This was years and years ago, 1994.
Yes.
I lost $50,000 in Equinox, and I didn't have it. I borrowed all this money and credit cards and everything. And that gave me a bad taste in my mouth for a while, until I realized that, that was on me, man.
Yeah.
I thought I can make $1 million overnight because that's what some guy told me sitting in an office. I didn't realize there was work involved.
If ever we fail in business, 9 times out of 10, it's the person in the mirror that failed.
Yeah.
100%. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. All right. So 100%. What other businesses have you been in?
Yeah. So I owned a fence company. I've owned, I had several retail stores, nutrition stores. I had 4 of those. I've had, oh my gosh, so many. Real estate brokerage, real estate company. Now currently I have a development company. We just started at the end of last year, me and a couple partners. I owned it's called, I don't want to get into it but basically it's a monitoring company for my bail bonds company. Okay. So I like to do things that were ancillary. For instance, in real estate, I don't want to just be the broker. I wanted to own the brokerage. So I found a way to do that. I had to take on partners and stuff because I was brand new to real estate, and you're not allowed to own one unless you have a certain amount of experience here in Colorado. So found some partners, did that. But along with real estate, there's things like appraisals, inspections, the contracting of fixing the work and staging the property. All those require businesses. So, I've actually got in my mind, I'm going to open up something for all those. And that's where my son came in with the lending company as well. We're putting him to work with a lending company, a friend of ours. And as soon as he gets enough experience, we're going to open a lending company, a brokerage for that, and let him run it. And I'm planning that to be my residual income. He better be writing me a check for a while.
That's right. Yeah. So your approach is very similar to my business partner and I. I mean, we have a holdings company that holds a lot of different entities, and we've tried certain things that really didn't make sense, but for the most part, everything we do intertwines with other things that we're doing. And so they complement one another and they make a lot of sense. So you mentioned something about the Worley Way in your bio here. So what is the Worley Way? What is that?
Yeah, so I won't give you all the values just because I want people to read the book to get them so they understand it. But the Worley Way is 10 values that I came up with. I met a buddy of mine. His name Jim Hensel. He's an awesome dude. I call him my man coach, basically. He taught me what.
Wouldn't that be a moach man coach?
Yeah, yeah, really.
There you go. Yeah. Nothing
My
wrong with
wife
that.
coined the phrase because she was jealous of our bromance, you know.
Yeah. Hey man,
Uh,
I have a few of those, and we need them because
we need them,
we got to keep each
100%.
other in check. 100%. Yep.
That's right. And I'm going to go into business with him here probably by the end of this year on some of this coaching stuff because he's got a hell of a system that he currently uses. But the great thing about me is I have a story to go with the system, so I can back that shit up.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
That's all right.
I 100% have been at rock bottom, and I've also been up, and I'm afraid to go to rock bottom. So I work my butt off to keep from going back there. And the systems I used, the Worley Way, sorry, I digress. The Worley Way, him and I came up, he basically teaches men how to have a code of honor, a value system. The movie 300 just always comes to mind for me. It's a mantra that I use daily to check myself and make sure I'm running my life according to the way I want it to go, what I said I would do. I'll give you 3 examples: friendship, family, and freedom. Those are the 3 values that I'm relying on today. Life changes. So when I started this back in 2011, I was focused on family and hard work. And I'm trying to make a bunch of money and I need to get my kids to college and I'm, that thing. So I was able to focus on those, but now it's all about the freedom, man. I'm a little older, 48 years old, and I'm starting to think about the future, about doing nothing for a living.
Yeah. I love it.
And this guide, these 10 values, the Worley Way, I use to guide our businesses, to hire people. I use them the people in my life also follow some sort of value system, or they're not in my life. This is a way for me to also be able to cut people out when I need to, because I have a great uncanny ability to get screwed over and help people too much to where they're hurting me.
Yep.
And so this is a way for me to also toe my line. It's easier for me to say, you know what, you're not following these. This is where you're breaking my values, and I just can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy, but we have to do that in life, because if you bring negativity or you have negativity around you, you always look at your 5 closest friends, people that you're connected with, and that's typically the quality of your life, right? So
that's it. The round table.
100%. So we're talking to Ron Worley, the author of Ditches to Riches: How to Survive Your Effed Up Life and Create a Kick-Ass Business. So, Ron, I want to go ahead and talk about the acronym that you had mentioned, LLYD, in some of the show notes here. So let's talk about that, and that'll be our focus, because there's other topics we're going to talk about in the future. So let's focus on that.
Yeah. So I came up with it. So LLOYD is live like you're dying. I don't know where I threw the O in there, but it's live like you're dying.
That's all right.
Live like you're dying is something I coined in 2016 after my really effed up life and all the things I survived and the actual deaths that I've had in my life. I ended up dying in the middle of the courthouse while I was working, completely healthy, the healthiest I've ever been in my life. And I dropped dead of heart failure. Wow. Massive heart failure. And I swear to God, it was right out of the blue. Like nobody saw this coming. Princess Leia died of the same thing. She was perfectly healthy and then just died on an airplane. Fortunately for me, I was in the middle of the courthouse. They had AED machines there, and they put one of those on me and brought me back a couple of times until I was able to sustain a heartbeat. Ultimately, it was stress that killed me. That's what the doctor said anyways. I don't know if it was that or the energy drinks I was drinking to keep myself going all the time. But I learned a big fat lesson that if I had died right then and there, I didn't do everything I set out to do yet. I would have left behind very sad children and a very, very sad wife who, by the way, still has PTSD from, she was there when I went down and had to administer CPR on me, and it's messed her up forever. And so when I got healthy, so they gave me 6 months 6 months to 5 years to live, basically. A 50% chance of living through this heart failure. And like I said, lots of people have died from this. And so ultimately I said, okay, I've got 5 years max. I'm going to go out and just do all those things that I haven't done yet, because I've been working my ass off and I haven't done anything for myself. I've done it for everybody else. And for this imaginary person out there that thinks that I needed to do, I had to make all this money, or I had to hit this goal and that goal, and I had to work my butt off to get there. Didn't really enjoy the trip, the journey while I was getting there. And so fortunately by then I amassed enough wealth that I could just take off and start traveling and seeing people. And so I made it my mission that if I thought of it, I'm going to do it. So I started painting. I wanted to learn how to paint. So I just started painting, and ultimately I started painting and got pretty good at it to where I could sell them and give money to charity. And so I started doing shows, and then it became work. So I stopped. And then I started making music. I just wanted to learn how to do it. And I saw these kids doing DJ stuff, and I thought, well, I can do that. And so I learned how to do that. And, anything I put my mind to, but mostly I started traveling to see people that I hadn't seen in a long time. I did a goodbye tour is what it was. And inside of a couple of years, I was traveling about every month somewhere to see somebody for a couple of days. And I found that really important to make some extra moments, one last moment with them before I died. And that was in my goal. But the live like you're dying phrase became so popular because everything I wanted to do, I was all of a sudden doing. And there was nothing holding me back. There was no fear anymore. The fear of failure was gone because I didn't care anymore. I was dying. Who cared? Who's going to care if I die trying? That all of a sudden it didn't matter. And so I just went on with that, and I still go on with that. I've lightened it up a little bit because my wife got sick of me traveling so much. And the funny thing is that I saw a doctor. I see a doctor, and I pretty much got nowhere, but I met a homeopathic doctor through Organo Gold, and Dr. Bob actually put me on a system. He cleaned out my blood, and he did all this crazy cleanse I did for 2 weeks, and he healed me 65% in 2 weeks through homeopathic stuff. And I went to the doctor right before I went on this thing, and right after, and right before, he was telling me, you got a couple of years, maybe max, and we're going to either be you're going to have a heart transplant. That maxes out your life at 10 years, but he gave me the woe is me stuff. 2 weeks later, he's scratching his head quite literally and cannot figure out how I got so healthy so quickly. So that's why I went with Organo Gold, and I use a lot of their products, and because I'm a believer, it's worked in my life. And so now the live like you're dying has lightened up because I'm not dying anymore. At least I've got a bunch more years left.
That's awesome.
But the philosophy is still there. Don't be scared. Just do it. See what happens. What's the worst that can really happen? Is it your ego? Well, screw your ego. We all fail. So screw the ego. Is it money? Well, only put in as much as you can. Maybe grab a partner or two, or maybe borrow some money, or don't borrow the money and just use what you have in your bank account. Save up. Maybe you have to take 5 years to work your butt off, working 3 or 4 jobs to be able to save the money to be able to do what you love, And I teach that to my kids too. What if you're unhappy in something, stop and do something else. Live like you're dying tomorrow. What would you do? Who would you see? Where would you go? What would you buy? How would your goals change if you knew you were dying in a week or two?
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier in the show, we were talking about the whole price tag of success, finding that $1 million, but it boils down to happiness, because my level of success and what makes me happy is a lot different than yours.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And as far as your story of the products you're taking with Organo Gold, I think that's great. Facts tell, stories sell. And that's why when you have success from something and you're able to back it up, one of my longtime mentors, Robert Hollis, he always says documentation beats conversation. Listen, man, if you can't back it up, then shut up. That's my opinion. If you can't we're not a fake it till you make it kind of thing. I mean, there's sometimes you gotta walk the walk, you gotta talk the talk before you can walk the walk. However, you can't do that forever. So I love your story. Live like you're dying. I think it's great. And so I'm excited. I believe that everybody has a reason why our paths cross, and being entrepreneurs, having each other's back. You and I have a lot in common now that I've heard you talk more and more. I'm not perfect. You can ask my wife. I make mistakes all the time, but that's why we need one another, right? Because if we're walking this planet all by ourselves, we're lost. There's no point in that. There's no point in that. So we have to connect ourselves with the right people. So Ron, I look forward to having you on the show again. I appreciate all you're doing. I appreciate your energy. I love your story, and I can't wait till the next episode. And I'm hoping on the other side of this that we can maybe do some business together, because your thought process is very similar. I love it. I love your energy. Right. I can't wait for you to, to meet my business partner, and we could talk more about some things moving forward. So sure. How do we connect with you before we wrap up? I want you just to let everybody know how to get your book. I see that it's on Amazon. I see that it's at Books A Million. Looks like there's Apple Books, Barnes and Noble. There's a lot of options, but we'll drop a link for the book. Is there anything you can offer our listeners today if they reach out to you?
Yeah, you know what? So if the easiest way to get a hold of me is go to ronworley.com. My emails are on there. I even believe my phone number is on there. And you can get to the book on there as well. And I appreciate you helping me out with that. But ultimately, I do take on mentees, and I do it absolutely free. If you're across the country, across the world, whatever, we can email Buddy and talk that way, or we can Zoom. The miracle of technology today. I'm Zoom meeting with people, and that seems to be working as well. So I do all this for free right now because I'm not maxed out and I'm trying to give back. So anybody that wants some help, just give me a holler, give me an email, and I'll reach back to you. I promise.
Sounds good. And I'll make sure that all the links are right here in the show notes. So don't forget, you can watch us on Facebook as well as YouTube under Certifiably Unemployable. Check out our website, certifiablyunemployable.net, and also listen to Ron's podcast called Sons of Ditches. Okay. And Ron, if there's anything you need from me, if I can be at all any assistance to you, you and I have a lot of the same vision, as I've mentioned multiple times, and I would be very honored to work with you more. So
I appreciate you very much, Sean. And yeah, please have me back on too. And let's talk after the show's over here.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the information. This is Certifiably Unemployable. And until next time.
You've been listening to Certifiably Unemployable. Ready to fire the boss yet? You're on your way. Sean has been self-employed for over 20 years. So if that's something that you want to do, something you've been dreaming about for years, Sean has all the knowledge, good, bad, and indifferent. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on Facebook and Instagram at Certifiably Unemployable. Find us on YouTube and at www.certifiablyunemployable.us.net.org and .info. Till next time, this is Certifiably Unemployable, signing off.